attention through the questions and answers that were provided during the webinar, or actually post-webinar when we were reviewing them, that there's a capability within Altium that I overlooked when I was putting it together. And it's actually an important one, and if you master it, you wouldn't have to actually create these things within the PCB editor itself. You can do all of this in the library, and I'm going to show you how to do that right now. What I'm going to do first and foremost is I am going to sweep over and select these lines and arcs that make up the Gull wing, and I'm going to do a Control-C. And then from the Control-C here, I'm going to give a reference point. So again, in Altium Designer, when you do a Control-C, which is a copy, it's going to ask you for a point of reference, and so I clicked down and provided it. I'm now going to jump over to a new sheet in my library, my PCB library. So I'm now in the library here, and I'm going to do a Control-V to paste this in. There we go. And now I'm in there. And I'm not too worried about being on the center, because obviously once I turn this into a step file, I can handle the orientations on it. Now the big question that may come to mind is, how do I take this group of arcs and lines and turn it into a 3D body? Well, there's nothing in place 3D body that's going to help you here. And you know, you can always try to draw over it or try to trace over it, but that's not efficient. So if you had something that came in from a DXF file, for example, which you can import into Altium, that wouldn't be very efficient if you couldn't somehow turn that into a 3D body. So Altium does have a capability to do this. We just got to go into another menu, and that's under Tools, and then we're going to go into Manage 3D Bodies for Current Component. And believe it or not, this is the exact same tool that we looked at during the webinar if you wanted to batch a bunch of 3D bodies onto a design that you already have. So you'll notice over here it provides us some information. The middle one is the one that I'm most interested in because it takes on the same shape as the lines and the arcs that make up the Gull wing. So to turn this on, I'm going to go to the body state here, and I'm going to turn this on here. So by clicking on it, it enables it. You can now see the preview of the 3D body here on the left side. In terms of standoff height, I'm not going to have it go above, and then for just demonstration purposes here, I'm simply going to put this at 3 millimeters. And by the way, if you are working in mils and you want to put another value in for metric, you can certainly do so as long as you add the label to it, and Altium will handle that just fine. Body projections, top side, registration layer is going to be mechanical 1. That's fine for this particular demonstration. I'm going to leave the color the same and the opacity the same as well. I'm going to press close. Now that we have our 3D body in here, and as a matter of fact, I'll double click on it just to show we've got it, we now can proceed here. Now let me hit the 3 key to show you what the issue is. When I hit the 3 key, it looks like our Gull wing. This looks like the large Gull wing for the SOT 223, which we saw the other day. The problem with any type of 3D body is that they do not provide rotation for it. And as a matter of fact, if I try to use any of the tools to do this, it's going to balk at me a little bit. Either it's just not going to do it at all, or it's going to throw up an error message. So for example, if I go to Tools, 3D Body Placement, and I click on Orient and Position 3D Body, I'll click on this particular 3D body. It's the only one I've got here, and it's going to balk at me saying this tool does not work on extruded bodies as they cannot be rotated. So how do we fix that? Well, in the dialog or the properties of my 3D body, there's this button over here which I glossed over during the webinar. But this is actually a very important button, because when I click on this here, it now takes that 3D body and puts it into a step. Now, caution here, that in the 3D body we have the ability to manipulate it, but once it becomes a step, and once I press OK over here, I will no longer have this as a 3D body, and I cannot revert back to a 3D body. So if you're going to be doing some stuff and you're thinking that you may make some changes later on, you may want to make a copy of what you've got before you actually convert it into a step. So that's what I'm going to do at this point in time, and then I'm going to press OK. And now this is a step file, and any of the commands that I have over here are certainly going to be available to me. So if I want to, for example, go to Tools here and go to 3D Body Placement, and I want to align the face with the board, I certainly can do that. So I can click on this here, I'll put this face here so it's actually going to stand up, but it will work at this point in time. So that's the first thing I wanted to show you. I also made reference to the fact, in fact you can see this right over here, I also made reference to the fact, and I kind of really botched it, and one of our questions kind of came up about it, was I was trying to talk about the fact that you could turn a triangle, but I may have said rectangle instead. And there's kind of a half-truth there. You could certainly make a triangle. The problem was that if you wanted the edge to face the Z direction, that was a bit problematic in a 3D body. As far as I know, you can't really do it. So we again can use the step example to actually make that happen if we wish to, and I'll demonstrate that. So I'm going to click on the place menu again, go into 3D body. This time I'm just going to do a simple extruded design. I'm going to press OK. The overall height's 50 mil. We'll keep it at that. We do have to provide it an overall height. And I'm just going to draw a very simple, actually I'm going to backspace here so I can make it a little more symmetrical. Right click here, and now I have my triangle. If I hit the 3 key, there's my triangle. Okay, and probably what I need to do is get everything oriented so you can see it over here. So now we've got our X, Y, and Z is pointing out at us. And the big question is, if I rotate this down a little bit, is this edge over here. Can I get this edge to come up onto the Z axis? Well, yes, I can. And again, if I double click into the properties and I click on convert to step, I can do that now. So I'm going to press OK. All right. And again, keep in mind this is still over here in the XY position, but now I can use my tools to actually have it come up. One of the ways I can do that is I can go to Tools, 3D Body Placement, and I'm going to say align the face with the board. So I'm going to click on my new step model, and I'm going to tell it to do the bottom here, and boom, it's done. So if I actually wanted to draw things that have this type of triangular solid, I can certainly do that. So I hope that that provides some additional information for you. I do apologize for any confusion that may have caused, and I also hope that you can take advantage of this tool that I showed you today.